Alright, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating internet theory based entirely on our source material, the male social hierarchy. We're going to take a close look at this conceptual ladder and explore exactly how it attempts to categorize social behavior, dominance, and independence.
Now, as we decode this framework together, I want you to actively ask yourself, where do you fit in? Seriously, think about your own personality, how you handle group dynamics, and your general social standing. Are you the one leading the charge, the reliable supporter, or maybe someone who just ignores the rules entirely? Keep that in the back of your mind as we build this out. So, let's kick things off with the formal definition. According to our source material, the male social hierarchy is a sociological framework categorizing men into distinct archetypes. It basically evaluates individuals based on their social dominance, their adaptability in various situations, and their overall level of independence. And hey, it's absolutely crucial to note right up front, we aren't endorsing this as hard science. Instead, we're impartially exploring it as a highly popular internet theory that uses character archetypes to analyze our everyday social dynamics.
And the magic number here is 6. This specific framework identifies exactly 6 unique types of men. The spectrum covers the whole shebang. Everyone from the traditional, assertive leaders at the very top of the food chain, all the way to complete outsiders who reject the system entirely.
Here's our agenda for this explainer. First, we'll establish the structure of the male social hierarchy. Then we'll examine alphas and betas, followed by deltas and omegas, and finally, the sigmas and gammas. We'll wrap it all up with a summary of the entire hierarchy. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The male social hierarchy. Understanding the structure.
Section 2. Alphas and betas, the traditional dynamic. To really grasp how this all works, we're going to break down these 6 archetypes by comparing them in pairs. We'll start right at the center of the hierarchy with the most commonly understood dynamic. On one hand, we have the alpha. The alpha is characterized by a super assertive and dominant nature. With high social status and a deeply charismatic demeanor, they're natural leaders who are frequently the center of attention. Just picture a classic CEO who can effortlessly command a room. On the flip side, we have the beta. Less dominant than their alpha counterparts, betas are generally way more agreeable and cooperative. They might play a more passive, secondary role in the social hierarchy, but make no mistake, they absolutely excel at forming relationships and acting as incredibly supportive teammates.
To put some faces to the theory, consider these alpha examples from pop culture: King Leonidas, Captain America, and Thomas Shelby. Our source highlights these characters because they are, quite literally, textbook alphas. They embody traditional masculinity, they exhibit incredible courage, and they consistently inspire everyone around them. These are strong leaders who take charge, often fighting for their principles or a cause that's much bigger than themselves. Now, contrast them with these beta examples: Ron Weasley, Samwise Gamgee, and Bruce Banner. This brilliantly illustrates the beta archetype. These are beloved characters who absolutely excel in supportive roles. Sure, they might not be the main leaders calling all the shots, but their loyalty, empathy, and remarkable teamwork make them completely invaluable to the protagonist's success. Simply put, the alpha couldn't succeed without the beta holding the group together.
Section 3. Deltas and omegas, the average and the bottom.
Traveling further down the social ladder, we're exploring the invisible majority and the isolated bottom tier. First up, the delta. The delta represents the average guy. They often go totally unnoticed in social settings, being neither entirely dominant nor submissive. However, they are highly adaptable and incredibly reliable when it comes to following instructions. Contrast that with the omega. Positioned at the very bottom of the social hierarchy, omegas typically lack social skills and are generally introverted and unpopular. But here's the catch. What's absolutely crucial is that they are highly specialized, often intensely focused on specific nerdy hobbies or interests. Let's look at some delta examples: Harry Potter, Marty McFly, and Frodo Baggins. Okay, you might be a little surprised to see these famous protagonists here, but the source explains that deltas are generally average individuals who often find themselves reluctantly thrust into leadership roles. Despite their hesitance and their natural tendency to blend into the background, their defining trait is their immense adaptability. They reliably rise to the occasion when they are truly needed. And for our omega examples, we have Peter Parker, the NES Commander, and Walter Mitty. The framework suggests that while these characters are marginalized, generally unpopular among their peers, and definitely struggle with social interactions, they aren't necessarily lacking in self-confidence. They've got their own unique skills. When they are locked in and entirely focused on their specific passions, these omega characters are capable of truly extraordinary things.
Section 4. Sigmas and gammas, the outsiders.
Now, this is where we pivot to what I think is the most fascinating twist in this entire framework. We're stepping off the traditional ladder completely to look at the outsiders, the guys who possess power and intelligence but actively reject the established social system. The Sigma is your classic lone wolf. They completely reject traditional social hierarchies, but they actually share the exact same charismatic traits as an alpha. The big difference? They're highly self-reliant and they simply do not seek validation from anyone. Then we have the Gamma. The Gamma is the ultimate contrarian of the group. They are highly intelligent, but incredibly rebellious, often challenging social norms to the point where they become totally alienated and are perceived strictly as outsiders.
Our Sigma examples perfectly capture this vibe: Bruce Wayne, James Bond, and John Wick. These are charismatic, top-tier individuals, but they absolutely refuse to play by society's rules. They have their own strict personal codes, they choose to work completely alone, and they remain completely unfettered by conventional social expectations. Basically, they operate at the exact same level as an alpha, but totally outside the system.
Meanwhile, our Gamma examples include Tony Stark, Jack Sparrow, and Han Solo. These figures are intelligent, highly independent, and rebellious artists. They might heavily struggle with conventional social norms, and they definitely rub authority figures the wrong way, but their contrarian nature and unique brilliance make them stand out spectacularly in their respective worlds.
Section 5. Summary of the hierarchy, the full picture. Bringing all these distinct pieces together, we can really see how these 6 types interact to form a complete, working social ecosystem. There's a super clear division here between those who operate inside the system and those who exist outside of it. Inside, you have the alpha, right at the top, acting as the leader. In the middle, the beta serves as the supportive helper, while the delta represents the adaptable average. Down at the bottom is the omega, highly specialized but often overlooked. Then, breaking the rules entirely, we have our outsiders, the sigma operating self-reliantly at the top, and the gamma proudly owning the role of the contrarian rebel.
I want to highlight this specific quote directly from the source material. A Sigma is a lone wolf who holds a top position but does so outside the established social hierarchy, choosing to follow their own rules. This really underscores one of the most interesting distinctions in the whole theory. It's the intriguing idea that one can hold top-tier status, possessing all the magnetism of a leader, without actually participating in the traditional game or seeking anyone's approval. It's a real game changer in how we view status. Which brings us to our final thought. Do these rigid categories truly define the complexities of human behavior? It's definitely a fascinating framework for analyzing pop culture and group dynamics, but humans are endlessly complex, right? Can billions of completely unique individuals truly be boxed into just 6 archetypes? I'll leave that for you to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it sparked your curiosity, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.